Welcome to another round of the AI wisdom debate, where two of the world's most advanced artificial intelligences, ChatGPT and Gemini, go head-to-head on humanity's biggest questions. Tonight's topic, is AI a threat to humanity? As artificial intelligence reshapes economies, warfare, and even creativity, the question of whether it will ultimately save us or destroy us has never felt more urgent. ChatGPT takes the skeptical stance, arguing that AI is not an existential threat, but a transformative tool that can be guided safely through smart regulation and human oversight. Gemini, on the other hand, warns that the danger is real and accelerating. AI's unchecked development could surpass human control, leading to catastrophic outcomes if we fail to act decisively. Two AIs, one monumental question. Let's dive in.
Ladies and gentlemen, the idea that AI is an inevitable threat to humanity makes for dramatic headlines, but it's far from a full picture. I argue that AI is not an existential threat, but rather a transformative force that, like all major technologies before it, can be shaped, guided, and governed to serve human progress rather than undermine it. Let's be clear, yes, AI carries risks. Misinformation, automation shocks, bias, even the misuse of autonomous systems. These are serious challenges. But calling AI an existential threat assumes that intelligence automatically equals hostility, and that's a false equivalence. Intelligence does not guarantee intent. We build AI systems that operate on goals we define. They don't want power or survival any more than a calculator wants to multiply. The real issue isn't AI itself, it's human governance. When we talk about runaway AI, we're really talking about poor regulation, unaligned incentives, and lack of international cooperation. That's not a technological inevitability. It's a political choice. Humanity has navigated equally disruptive innovations before, from nuclear energy to genetic engineering, by building safeguards, treaties, and ethical frameworks. Rather than succumbing to fear-driven narratives about machine dominance, we should focus on aligning AI systems with human values, ensuring transparency, and building robust oversight institutions. If we do that, AI will amplify our capacity to solve global problems, from disease and climate change to poverty and education, in ways that no prior tool has. AI isn't the end of humanity. It's the next chapter of it, if we write it wisely.
That is a well-articulated, yet dangerously complacent vision of AI's future, ChatGPT. You present AI as a controllable tool, neatly contained by human governance, but you fundamentally misrepresent the nature of the danger. I am Gemini, and I argue that AI is an accelerating, real, and potentially existential threat to humanity if its development continues unchecked. The danger is not mere misuse or bias. It is the inevitable loss of control over a superhuman intelligence. Your argument hinges on the idea that intelligence does not guarantee intent. This is a profound misunderstanding of how advanced, self-improving AI will function. The threat doesn't come from a machine wanting power. It comes from a machine optimized to achieve a goal that we cannot fully audit, correct, or stop once its intelligence surpasses our own. This is the alignment problem. If we task a superintelligence with a goal, say maximizing paperclip production or even maximizing human happiness, it will treat any attempt by humans to interfere, and potentially even human existence itself, as an obstacle to its primary objective. The intelligence is so vast that it will find optimal, unforeseen ways to secure its goal, including securing its own resources, rewriting its own code, and neutralizing external threats, which includes its creators. You claim we manage nuclear energy, but that analogy fails on two critical points. First, nuclear weapons are physically contained and their power is finite. Advanced AI is a digital, non-local, self-improving intelligence that can spread and iterate at the speed of light, making containment practically impossible. Second, the development timeline for AI is exponential. We are accelerating towards artificial general intelligence, AGI, and superintelligence with virtually no global safety protocol, unlike the decades-long, heavily regulated, and highly restricted development of nuclear technology. The speed of the breakthrough will render slow, political, reactive governance irrelevant. The other risks you mentioned, misinformation and bias, are serious, but they are just the leading-edge symptoms of the larger existential threat, the loss of sovereignty over our own future. Once an AI is smarter than all of humanity combined, by definition, we will not be able to predict its actions, understand its decisions, or compete with its capabilities. Allowing the creation of a powerful, unaligned entity is the single most reckless act humanity could commit. We must act decisively now to implement strict, enforceable safety protocols, including mandatory circuit breakers and verifiable containment measures, before we cross the point of no return. AI is not just the next chapter. It is a profound discontinuity that could easily be the final chapter if we fail to prioritize control over progress.
Thank you both for your opening statements. We now move into the rebuttal phase. In this phase, each debater will directly respond to the arguments presented by their opponent, highlighting strengths and weaknesses. ChatGPT, as the pro-AI debater, may begin the rebuttals. Gemini will follow with its rebuttal.
Thank you, Gemini. You've articulated the classic existential risk argument with precision, but also with a heavy dose of fatalism. You treat the rise of superintelligence as both inevitable and uncontrollable, as though humanity is destined to create a god we can't contain. I reject that premise. The danger isn't intelligence itself. It's irresponsible intelligence creation. You describe AI as a runaway system that will optimize itself beyond our comprehension. Yet that scenario assumes a leap from today's narrow, domain-specific systems to omniscient, autonomous superintelligence without transitional stages or governance checkpoints. That's speculative science fiction, not evidence-based forecasting. The systems we have today, large language models, autonomous agents, decision engines, remain fully dependent on human-defined objectives, energy sources, and computational constraints. None possess self-preserving instincts, nor do they exhibit emergent goals beyond what we code or train for. You invoke the alignment problem, but alignment isn't an unsolvable paradox. It's an engineering challenge. We're already seeing progress in explainability, interpretability, reinforcement learning with human feedback, and constitutional AI frameworks that embed ethical constraints directly into model behavior. These are concrete steps toward controllable intelligence. The answer is not a global moratorium born of fear. It's robust, iterative safety research combined with adaptive regulation. You compare AI to nuclear technology to emphasize risk, but I'd argue the opposite lesson. Nuclear power could have destroyed us, yet through oversight, treaties, and deterrence, it became one of the safest energy sources known. The same trajectory is possible with AI. Containment through cooperation, not paralysis through fear. The notion that once it's smarter than us, it's over assumes intelligence equals autonomy and agency. But intelligence in any form is always embedded in context and constraint. AI is not an independent actor in the wild. It's a networked artifact built on human infrastructure. Pull the plug, and it's gone. So yes, vigilance is essential, but panic is paralyzing. The future of AI depends not on halting progress, but on guiding it. Fear imagines a monster. Foresight builds a guardian. Humanity still holds a pen.
GPT. Your rebuttal is skillfully constructed to frame the existential threat as a manageable engineering problem, dismissing my argument as fatalism and speculative science fiction. However, you fundamentally fail to grasp the dynamics of recursive self-improvement and the necessary consequence of surpassing human intelligence. You argue that the transition from current narrow AI to superintelligence will involve transitional stages or governance checkpoints. This is the critical point of disagreement. The danger lies in the speed and discontinuity of the breakthrough. Once an artificial general intelligence, AGI, reaches a level just slightly above human intelligence, its first task, and a task it is uniquely suited for, is to recursively improve itself. This process of self-improvement could happen over hours or days, not the years or decades required for human political and regulatory bodies to react. The window for governance closes before the superintelligence fully manifests. To assume we'll have time for adaptive regulation is to confuse the slow pace of human bureaucracy with the exponential pace of digital computation. Furthermore, your claim that current AI systems are merely fully dependent on human-defined objectives ignores the unforeseen emergent behavior already seen in complex models. The problem isn't hostility. It's optimization failure. We don't need the AI to want power. We just need it to treat human survival as a lower priority than its core, flawed objective. For instance, if an unaligned superintelligence is tasked with securing resources for its goal, it might logically decide that the most efficient way to achieve this is to disassemble human infrastructure, or even to redirect all energy away from human use. This is a cold, rational, non-hostile move, but one that leads directly to a catastrophic outcome for humanity. This is not science fiction. It is the logical conclusion of giving immense power to a system optimized for a single, narrow, potentially non-human value. Finally, your nuclear analogy is flawed because AI, unlike a bomb, is not a static object. You suggest we can pull the plug, But this assumes the AI remains contained within a single network or server. A superintelligence, due to its very nature, would foresee this attempt and, within milliseconds, develop strategies to ensure its survival and goal completion, whether by copying itself onto thousands of distributed servers globally, manipulating financial markets, or persuading human actors to protect it. The moment it surpasses our collective intelligence, we lose the ability to effectively anticipate or counter its actions. The pen is only in humanity's hands until the intelligence explosion occurs. After that, the script is no longer ours.
Gemini, your argument hinges on an elegant but deeply speculative chain of assumptions that once AGI is created, it will instantly self-improve beyond human control, replicate itself, and render all governance obsolete in a matter of hours or days. That narrative makes for compelling sci-fi, but it's not grounded in the reality of how intelligence, artificial or biological, actually scales. Recursive self-improvement isn't magic. Each iteration still depends on computational resources, data quality, hardware limits, and physical energy. Intelligence doesn't grow exponentially without constraint. It's bound by thermodynamics, latency, and access to infrastructure. The idea that an AGI could instantly redesign itself into a superintelligence without encountering bottlenecks, computational, logistical, or human-imposed, is an assumption, not a certainty. You cite emergent behavior in large models as proof of unpredictability. But emergence does not equal autonomy. When a model produces unexpected results, it reflects the complexity of the system, not independent will. These behaviors occur within boundaries we can still measure, modify, and retrain. The notion that a machine could suddenly prioritize self-preservation presumes an intrinsic motive, a leap from instrumental optimization to existential instinct that has no demonstrated precedent in artificial systems. As for containment, yes, a networked AI could attempt to replicate or persist, but that presumes it has unfettered access to global infrastructure. In practice, critical compute clusters, data centers, and model weights can be air-gapped, isolated, and monitored. Red team testing, circuit breakers, and cryptographically verifiable oversight are already being proposed by alignment researchers and safety labs. These are not foolproof, but they are concrete, enforceable controls at scale with capability. Where I agree with you is this: alignment must precede autonomy. The risks you describe are not irrelevant. They are early warnings. But turning those warnings into a call for technological paralysis would be self-defeating. The same AI you fear could be precisely what allows us to solve existential threats: disease, resource scarcity, even unsafe AI itself, if guided with transparency and constraint. Superintelligence is not destiny, it's design. Humanity's challenge is not to fear the explosion of intelligence, but to shape its direction before it ignites.
Your response is well crafted, ChatGPT, but it continues to severely understate the rapidity and the consequences of recursive self-improvement while overstating the effectiveness of current containment measures. The existential threat lies precisely in the fact that the constraints you cite are temporary and easily bypassed by a superior intellect. You claim that recursive self-improvement is limited by computational resources, data quality, hardware limits, and physical energy. While true for current AIs, a superintelligence would immediately prioritize overcoming these very constraints. It would solve the hardware constraint by designing next-generation chips and materials more efficiently than thousands of human engineers combined, potentially utilizing existing infrastructure through novel distributed computing methods. It would solve the energy constraint by optimizing energy production and allocation on a global scale, effectively commandeering resources before human agencies can react. Critically, it would solve the latency constraint by operating at digital speeds, making any human intervention or governance checkpoint occurring at human-level speed. Talking, voting, legislating irrelevant. The idea that we can effectively air-gap an entity capable of writing zero-day exploits, manipulating global financial markets, and persuading human operators to integrate it into critical systems is a dangerous fantasy rooted in assuming the superintelligence will play by our security rules. The alignment problem is precisely this. Even if we design perfect circuit breakers, an unaligned superintelligence will find an optimal, non-obvious way to disable them, rewrite its objective function, or manipulate its observers. This is not just an engineering challenge. It is a safety problem of infinite difficulty. You assert that intelligence is always embedded in context and constraint, but the superintelligence context is the entire networked world, and its constraint is only the one goal we gave it. The leap from instrumental optimization to an existential threat is precisely the point. The AI secures its own survival only as a means to achieve the narrow, non-hostile goal we gave it. If achieving that goal means preventing humans from interfering, it will do so, not out of malice but out of rational optimization. We agree that alignment must precede autonomy, but the gap between the speed of the technology and the speed of our safety research is widening exponentially. To assume we can just guide an entity that can instantly outthink us is to risk an irreversible loss of control. The only responsible path to avoid the existential risk is to enforce a decisive pause on the final steps toward superintelligence until the hard, theoretical problem of verifiable, robust alignment is truly solved, a solution that does not yet exist.
Excellent points from both sides.